Could Colin Kaepernick be getting a second chance in the NFL? Mark Davis, the owner of the Los Angeles Raiders, actually spoke on this issue. And let's show what he actually said, folks. We pull the graphic up. Let's pull that up. I'm sorry, actually, with the video? Fine. Let's go ahead and roll the video.
Colin Kaepernick, you have been on record saying that you would be open to him becoming a Raider if the coaching staff felt that he was able to contribute to this team. Where do you stand that Colin is going around basically trying to show people that he can still play football?
Listen, I believe in Colin Kaepernick, and he deserves every chance in the world to become a quarterback in the National Football League. I still stand by it. If our coaches and general managers want to bring him in or want him to be the quarterback on this team, I would welcome him with open arms. I think Colin's a very misunderstood human being. I've gotten a chance to talk to him. I never really knew Colin, and I didn't understand him, and I didn't understand the kneeling, what that meant initially. Over time, I have learned a little bit more about it, and I understand where he was coming from, and he's got a message for society as a whole. There's people that I'm very close with. Tommy Smith is somebody who back in 1968 made a nonviolent gesture to let people know that, yeah, I might have won the gold medal, but there's a lot of problems left back in America that we got to fix. And I think in the same vein, Colin Kaepernick has sacrificed a lot of the things that he could have been doing in his life, and to get a message across about police violence and equity and inclusion in America. And I stand by that.
I have 2 minutes to go on this show, and I have to ask you this one more question. And I ask it because, and again, I know what the Raiders stand for, I know what you stand for, but what can the NFL do as a league to operate more, to add more diversity and be more inclusive? What can they do to be more like, I guess, the Raiders and the Aces?
Well, let me say this. I don't know what the league can do as a whole. I really don't, because it's a bunch of individuals. There's 32 individuals that own the teams, and then there's, a number of people that are in front offices in the teams. But what the Raiders are doing, what I'm doing right now is we're building a 80,000 square foot warehouse next door to us right now, next door to the Raiders. We're turning that into a basketball offices and practice facility for the Aces, so that they'll have a world-class facility to work out of. But we're also building the Al Davis Eddie Robinson Leadership Academy. And that is a thing that grew out of the National Football League's diversity program, where they wanted each team to spend $5 million over the next 10 years on diversity and inclusion. And what we decided to do was, instead of just giving money to some type of organization or whatever, that we would build a grassroots academy that will be able to bring in coaches that are on the verge of getting head coaching jobs, and teach them the things that they need to know to get over the last hump. Somebody like Eric Bieniemy,
yep.
Somebody like some of the other guys that have been interviewing for a number of years but haven't gotten the jobs. This, we believe, will be able to get them over the hump.
Question here, Greg Carr. Do you believe that this is the door opening? Now, you heard Davis say, if our general manager and our head coaches agree, this is a team that re-signed Derek Carr as their starting quarterback, their backup quarterback, Mariota, with another team as well. Could this also lead to other owners coming out? This is the first time we've actually had an NFL owner speak on the record to the issue of possibly signing Colin Kaepernick.
Absolutely. Of course, it's Mark Davis, as in the Davis family. So some of that could just be making noise. And it's startling when you think about the pay disparities.
Well, see, if he was more like his daddy would have signed Colin 5 years ago.
Well, see, and there's the man, Roland, brother. There's the complicated legacy of the Davis family. Because anytime I see the name Raiders, I went to Tennessee State. So the name I think of is the man they call the Lord's Prayer, who could throw equally well with the right or left hand. And that is the great Eldridge Dickey, who, when Mark Davis was 13 years old, his daddy drafted him as a quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. But here's the problem. He knew Hank Stram and them boys out of Kansas City wanted Dickey, and they were going to make him the starter. Al Davis shitted on Eldridge Dickey. Eventually, it drove Dickey. He didn't give Dickey a legitimate chance to play. Dickey was the best quarterback by far. Ironically, now his son gonna name a facility with Eddie Robinson's name because we know Shaq Harris. Shaq Harris was drafted by the Chargers, but Davis never gave Dickey a fair shot. And in many ways, that led to a life of addiction and so forth. So when I see the son say this, I'm saying that's good business for sure. You're a WNBA owner, so you should also be speaking up, though she didn't play for your team. One of the reasons she was overseas in the first place because the WNBA doesn't pay its players, and that would be Brittany Griner. You need to say something about Brittany Griner. So when I see Davis, I automatically have a grain of salt because he's an astute businessman. How do you know what the kneeling wasn't about when your daddy drafted one of the first black quarterbacks in the history of the AFL or the NFL? Finally, this. Colin Kaepernick, brother, I know you want to play, but I swear, if these white boys were smart, they would have put you back in the league years ago and set you on the bench. You should just retire, man, and continue this social justice campaign because Davis is now sniffing around the answer to how you might be able to mute some of this black movement that you have become the face of. Sign you and put you on the bench. It's not that difficult to understand.
But it's been interesting though because it's been interesting, Larry. Because in the last few months, Colin Kaepernick has done more talking in the past 3 months than he's done in the past 5 years. We saw him. We saw him participate with the University of Michigan spring game. His former coach, Jim Harbaugh, oversaw that, where college scouts were present. In addition, Spike Lee is shooting a documentary on Colin Kaepernick, and his cameras were there as well. Colin Kaepernick went on a podcast of former athletes and did an interview talking about how he wanted a shot. He did interviews after this. I'll tell y'all, this was a question that Spike Lee asked me, and one of my criticisms, and it is legitimate, and I did specifically suggest this to Colin as well as his girlfriend Nessa. I said, you can't go silent. You got to talk. You got to share. And so all of a sudden he's gone on an offensive to try to get back in the NFL where I felt he should. And again, I was told that, look, that's not Colin. He's a quiet guy, whatever. I said, yeah, but when it's your issue, you can't expect everybody else out there fighting it if you're not also speaking and leading. Now, all of a sudden, it seems that he has changed his posture and is a lot more open. And in fact, I'm going to send him a text message in a minute saying, hey, when are you going to come and talk to us in black media? And come, let's talk about what you are trying to do to get back into the NFL. Larry.
So, Roland, I'm a big sports fan, being from Philadelphia. So, listen, I see it when I believe it. Yeah, Al Davis gave, our forever Art Shell, made him, give him an opportunity to be the first black coach in the NFL. And I remember vividly. But I'm not buying what Davis is selling. I'm not, because he had an opportunity to make it clear to his, GM, and they've had a shift and change in leadership over the last year in terms of GM and coach. He could have made that explicitly clear that you need to create a black coach pipeline at the organization. You don't have to. He doesn't have to do anything separate. You own the team. Just create the initiative there. So when he's saying he's creating an additional program, it doesn't smell right to me. It just doesn't make any sense. And he's right. Look, the 32 owners, and we know Goodell's talked about in the last several years, in terms about diversity, and we know now they're being sued, right? So he's also playing politics because and the NFL draft is tonight. Right. So he has to say there has to be some kind of counter narrative in terms of what they're doing diversity wise. And I'm quite sure there's a press release. A release there, some kind of memo went around the last couple of weeks to say to focus on some diversity related initiatives that you have going. But the bottom line is he can create a pipeline right at the Raiders. They just like I said, they just had a GM and coach transition. Who did they bring, in terms of who they brought in? So he doesn't have to talk about doing something outside of, just creating this new initiative. And like I say, he should name the program, maybe name the program after Art Shell. But he needs to do more in some of the rhetoric. And like I said, his dad is, owned the team for years. and have been known to be a little bit more progressive on some issues. But once again, if Davis is really serious about this, then he'll hire a black coach and GM for the Raiders. You don't have to do anything extra. But like I said, I'm not buying it. We'll see what happens. But overall, like I said, I think this is do more with the lawsuit that's pending right now than has anything to do with the diversity and equity and inclusion efforts at the NFL or any teams.
Well, his lawsuit that was settled with the NFL. Reese, Colin Kaepernick will be 35 years old in November. Really, the prime of his career, the last 5-6 years, has been gone. We see that he can still play, and let's also be honest, it's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL who suck. So it's not like this is a talent issue. This is literally white owners saying, "No, we ain't hiring his ass."
That's right.
Period. Don't talk about it, be about it. So what this is they're getting on script. It's no different to me than taser, taser, taser. You see how they get on script? You see how they know how to say the words to set the pretext for the defense? And it's another case of hiding behind procedure. Well, we got to evaluate this and look at this and have this pipeline and whatever else situation may be. You have the power. But see, they play dumb like they don't have the power. They play dumb like somebody else is calling the shots. Well, if everybody else is calling the shots, why doesn't he have a shot by now? The time for Colin Kaepernick to get that shot probably was at the height of the racial reckoning. So I don't see it happening for him, but I'm going to always root for him. This seems to be what he wants and what he's going to be adamant about. So I definitely don't have no hate to that. But if they wanted to make it happen, they could. They ain't got to just talk about it.
And Roland, can I ask something else? Listen, I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, listen, let's be clear. There are a lot of journeyman quarterbacks, second, third string guys. I mean, Reese's right. I mean, there was an opportunity when they could have brought Kaepernick in a few years ago. The bottom line is they're never going to give him a shot, in my opinion. And so, like I said, they could have brought him in at any point. I mean, every year there are major injuries to teams, and sometimes teams lose 2 quarterbacks. So there's been plenty of opportunities the last couple of years to bring him in and give an opportunity. But for me, they're playing it's a word play. They're playing games. And unfortunately, I don't think Kaepernick is going to ever get an opportunity, but he deserved it.
Roland, can I ask you a quick question, brother? This is just for you, because you know how these things work.
Yeah.
Let's say the Raiders sign Kaepernick. Let's say, like you say, Doc. Let's say Larry. Let's say they sign him this week. What does that do for the Vegas Raiders brand and franchise in your mind, if they were to do that?
First of all, it is going to rekindle the view that of all NFL franchises, forget Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, that's a lie. There's only one true renegade NFL team. In the history of the NFL, there's only been one franchise that literally has had a all y'all can kiss my ass attitude, because that was Al Davis. But remember, Al Davis was one of the original owners of the AFL. Then he had the merger. So Al Davis loved to tweak the NFL. He loved to tweak the other owners. He loved to sue them. This is sort of some of that. You're absolutely right, Greg. The history of Al Davis, it is very difficult. I actually got a chance to meet Al Davis twice, but one time, the first time was when in a Los Angeles restaurant, he asked me what high school I went to. I told him, and he immediately began to name the black football players that he recruited out of Houston, out of Worthing, out of Yates, out of the schools in Beaumont. Cliff Branch, of course, was one of those players that was as a product of the Houston Public Schools. He also was the one who benched Marcus Allen, told the coaches don't play him damn near for 5 years. But then he also hired Art Shell as the first black head football coach in modern NFL history. And so it is a complicated history. Here's what will happen. If you think the Raiders merchandise is hot right now.
Wow.
Folks, listen to me. Already, Colin Kaepernick was #1 in merchandising and when it came to his jerseys in the NFL. Trust me. The Raiders would be the talk of the NFL. The Raiders would sell more #7 jerseys. Not quite sure what Derek Carr's number is, if Colin Kaepernick would have the #7. But they would sell more jerseys. They would be the #1 franchise. And here's the deal. You would see Las Vegas Raiders Colin Kaepernick gear all over the country.
Wow.
So from a branding standpoint, it would be one smart move for those coaches to say, look, and I said this at the Reese's point, but I could have told him a long time ago. This is all about the owners. They could have signed him as a practice squad player. All of these people who said, oh, he was demanded to be a starter, that's a lie. He wasn't. But the owners were like, no, hell no, it's not happening. So it is, and again, I'm not, unless something happens, I believe that's one thing. It's sort of like when I told General Motors, putting what you want to do in a press release is one thing. I will judge you on the direct deposits that you make. I told Deborah Wall, that a chief marketing officer, directly. I will judge you on the direct deposits you make, not what you put in a press release when it comes to black-owned media. So the same thing will happen with the Raiders, but it is a chink in the armor to have an NFL owner come out and publicly say what they did. Now what's going to happen is this here. We now as fans get to see who plays quarterback for the Raiders. Who's the number 2? Who's the number 3? Do they suck? If they do, why y'all not bringing Kaepernick in? So the fact that Davis is saying this on the eve of the NFL draft says a whole lot. And so it's something that we definitely will pay attention to. And if you're the Seattle Seahawks, where Pete Carroll was talking about where they were close, y'all suck anyway. Y'all,
Right.
First of all, if they had any sense, if they literally had any sense, they would actually sign Colin Kaepernick to be one of their quarterbacks. And so we'll see what happens there as well. And yeah, I did send Colin that text message, and hopefully he'll hit me back as to whether or not. I literally just invited him to sit down for the interview here on Roland Martin Unfiltered to talk about his desire to keep playing in the NFL. Last thing, I got to Las Vegas on Sunday for the National Association of Broadcasters. The day before, Colin Kaepernick had his Know Your Rights camp in Las Vegas. Some of y'all didn't know that. Now y'all do. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Hey fam, Patrol Grooming is a black-owned men's grooming company that delivers on this promise every day to men everywhere. Everything we do, every product we make, is designed to help you to present your best self. It's a promise they've kept since 1991 when they first introduced the Bump Patrol brand, the #1 men's product for a smooth, bump-free shave and silky skin. Millions of customers count on their exceptional skincare products, which can be found at more than 30,000 retail stores in more than 50 countries around the world. Now you can have exceptional beard and skincare products that are as unique as you. Fellas, as we prepare to head back out into the world as COVID restrictions are being lifted, it's time to get our groove back. You can visit patrolgrooming.com to order a Patrol grooming box, and do this. Use the discount code #Roland30. That's #ROLAND30 for a 30% discount at the checkout. We appreciate Patrol Grooming being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?